Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
AITAH for telling my dad he doesn't get to talk about my period? I, 16 female, have made it really awkward to be around my dad, 46 male, and have probably ruined my relationship with him. I know I'm kind of young to be on Reddit, but I need help. I'm currently on my period and only use pads because tampons make me uncomfortable. In January my family got a dog. I'm not really a fan of dogs, but I tolerate her. When I replace a pad, I wrap it up in toilet paper or wrap it in the wrapper of the new pad and seal it closed with the little tape still on the wrapper. This has never been a problem until we got a dog. She likes going into the bathroom and taking my used pads out of the trash and ripping them apart. For the last couple months, I've had to chase her around the house and clean up ripped apart pads, but it's never really bothered the rest of my family as long as I'm the one cleaning them up. Today, the dog got to a pad I had thrown away earlier this morning. I caught her and threw the pad back in the trash and closed the bathroom door so she couldn't get to the trash again. While I was in my bedroom, my dad confronted me about it. He told me that the dog kept getting my pads out of the trash and that it was a problem. I was confused and asked him what he wanted me to do about it, since the only way to dispose of a pad is to throw it away. He told me that he wanted me to grow the fuck up and start using tampons. I was horrified. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with tampons and that he didn't get to talk to me about my period. He asked why not. I was speechless and had no idea what to say and just started crying from the embarrassment and shock and shut my bedroom door. My mom, 47 female, is currently in Florida visiting family, but she was my last resort. I'll copy and paste the exact message I sent her. Tell dad to stay in his own fucking lane and leave me alone because he just told me I had to grow up and start using tampons, so that the dog would stop eating my pads. He doesn't get to say that to me, it's not fair. I can't help that my uterus sheds every month and I go through almost unbearable pain, and his only remark is that I have to grow up and use something I'm not comfortable with. I know it sounds a bit bratty, but I was crying my eyes out and had no idea what to say. She's furious with him. She texted back saying it was inappropriate that he said that to me and that it was a total dick move on his part and it wouldn't happen again. I have no idea what she texted him, but I haven't seen or talked to him since. I think he's probably mad at me for bringing my mom into this and I don't know how to confront him. AITAH? Update. Thank you all so much for advice and being so understanding in the comments. I've scrolled through quite a bit and a lot of people are asking how using tampons would fix the situation and why using tampons is a sign of me growing up. Both my mom and twin sister use tampons and flush them. I'm the only one in the house that currently uses pads, as my 8-year-old sister obviously doesn't have a period yet. He thinks that flushing tampons down the toilet is normal and that I just need to grow up and start using tampons like my twin. Update 2. Thank you all so much for even more supportive comments and suggestions, and I told my mom that I caved and posted on Reddit and that everyone suggested getting a trash bin with a lid, and she agreed. When she returns from Florida tomorrow, we'll get a bin with a lid. The only reason my dad isn't buying the trash bin today and solving the problem quicker is because my mom doesn't want him to get an ugly one. LMAO. Is your dad aware that tampons also go in the bin? AITAH, I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. His dog needs intervention. You weren't bratty, you were upset. Does the garbage can in the bathroom have a lid? If not, a trip to a store that sells garbage cans may resolve this problem. Don't tampons get disposed of the same way? So how would that help? Also, it's none of his business. Very inappropriate, not the asshole. Leave this to your mother. She has your back and your father has been a complete idiot. You decide on your feminine product choices and not him. And it is about time he trains his stupid dog. As if he continues to put its needs ahead of yours, he can expect to live in a dungeon in the care home. Not the asshole. Your body, your choice. I don't care why you don't want to use tampons. You don't have to. Tell him I said he should grow up and buy a trash can with a lid. Although I suspect your mother already told him many things. If this ruins your relationship with your dad, that is on him. Not you. End of story. Am I the asshole for not apologizing to my step-mom? So I, 14F, my dad, 63, my step-mom, 50, step-sister, 18, and step-brother, 14, are on holiday, and today is our last day before I get to go with my actual mom. Yesterday we went surfing and we're all talking about the different stupid ways we fell off. I kept trying to say my but SS and SB kept interrupting me and my dad finally intervened when SM interrupted me. And being the easily pissed off person I am said, "Can I finally talk now?" To which she responded, "We'll all get a chance to talk," and instead of dropping it and telling my story I went, "So you can get pissed off when people interrupt you but I can't when I get interrupted?" She responded, "I don't though," and we went back and forth until I left the table and went to the sofa. Later that night we were all doing our own thing and me and SB got into a minor argument over who ate all the cookies and I sat down and said, "Oh, don't make me start," and SM, who was not previously involved with the argument, said, "Oh, please do." And as I already stated, I am an easily pissed off person and I will be the first to admit that if you didn't hear my set of the story it would definitely be considered toxic. Anyway, I yelled back, "Oh, I will," got up, pointed to her and screamed, "You're the reason I don't have a fucking family," and stormed off to the hallway, slamming the door. Before anyone jumps to tell me I'm wrong, near me out. SM knows that I have been in and out of therapy for about 7 years, so since I was 7-8, and that I struggle with my mental and physical health, and I have heard her saying that she does not like me at all, and I know she is the reason my parents got divorced as my dad was cheating on my mum with SM. And I just started bawling my eyes out as it's the holidays and I haven't been able to see my therapist for about 3 weeks now. My dad and I went out for a walk and then came back and we all went to sleep. And now my dad is sat next to me trying to make apologize to her but I refuse. Am I the asshole? This is a bit of a change. For some more info, my SM did know about my mum and I. She was also married at the time and used me SB having a close age as an excuse, saying me and SB were having a playdate while they were actually hooking up. My SS was the one who found the messages and showed them to her dad. SM then went on to ignore her for over a month. SB was still a child at the time. My dad found out yesterday that I know that he was cheating. SM is an extremely skinny woman as she has very fast metabolism and thinks that gives her a right to comment on my physical appearance on things such as my hair, I diet a lot, my weight, even though I'm underweight, and she knows I struggle with eating, my clothing choice. If it's not her style or wouldn't look good on her, she says it's unholy and I should change. One more thing I want to add is on the first night SM and my dad got into an argument. My dad and I went to get food as we had none, and when we got to M&S my dad saw he has 23 molest called and 56 texts all from SM, and as SS was really ill at the time we were worried and he called my SM and she just said she needed the car keys and she was going home, 8 hours away from where we were on holiday. And I was talking to SS about this and she said that SM didn't tell either of them and her plan was to just leave SB and SS there with no car. Is there a way you can limit your time with your dad and SM? I would have an honest conversation with your dad and say you do not feel comfortable around her, she is degrading, and if you want a relationship with me, it needs to be outside of me being in the same house as her. She is nasty and a horrible woman and I can't believe her own kids don't hate her yet. But I'm sure that will come. Don't apologize. You're allowed to feel how you feel, and it seems she is always trying to poke the bear with you instead of being an adult. Oh dear. No judgment here, as that won't help. This sounds less like a conflict with your SM and more like you finding life difficult right now. What a hard situation for you to be in, with a stepmother who came into your life under such circumstances. Do you see your mum much? Can you go stay with her or grandparents or friends for a few days? I think you need to apologize for speaking in anger. One should never say such things in anger. Perhaps you need a little more practice at walking away. Not the asshole what you are as a child who is in an unpleasant situation with adults who should be trying to help and aren't. I hope you get to go home to your mom soon. Cheating is a sin, so tell her that next time your outfit is unholy. Not the asshole, I'm sorry you have to put up with all this. Am I the asshole for thinking that the option for having an au pair look after my son after a divorce is valid? For context, my wife, 29, let's call her Anne, and I, 28, are separating after an 8-year marriage. We have a 2-year-old son. TLDR for separating is that it is a no-fault divorce, no infidelity or anything like that. But Anne does not love me anymore and has chosen to leave. Again, this is no individual's fault, but I am still willing to try and fix things and she is not. I have been the main breadwinner while Anne has done a small amount of self-employed work. With the separation I would fairly comfortably be in the position to have primary custody of our son with an au pair for care during the week while I work. I do have some small concerns about my Anne's ability to provide a stable household. She would have to rent with her mother, who is not in a good financial position, and doesn't yet have a job. However, I do believe she is a good mother and would try her hardest to provide for him. To make matters more complicated, my parents gave us a sizable amount of money to help us purchase our first house, £100,000. They told me this evening that they would want this back to help me put down the deposit for my next house. This did not sit very well with me, as this does greatly diminish the assets that Anne would be entitled to. I would be willing to part with other assets to try and balance the scale somewhat. Note, I am not asking about the legalities of this, I am just putting forward an if X then Y suggestion. This caused Anne to get very upset. Even though I've explained my parents' thought process behind this, she believes that they are doing all of this out of spite and anger. She's saying that this makes it very difficult to look after our son, but my attempts to say that I can care for him are just met with, "That's not happening," with no consideration. For clarity, I'm not talking about sole custody either way in this. In all likelihood it would probably be the difference between 3 and 4 nights per week depending on who the main carer is. If I do not have primary custody, then I would also be paying child maintenance. This would not be the case the other way around. Note: if anyone's unfamiliar with an au pair, in essence, they are normally someone from abroad who wants to learn the language and culture of the host country in exchange for room, board, a nominal amount of allowance and childcare for the host's family. Am I the asshole for believing that me having primary custody with an au pair is a reasonable suggestion that should be considered? Edit. We both definitely want to share custody. Before this evening came about, the state of play was that she would have him Monday, Thursday, and I would Friday, Sunday. Her reaction to my parents' decision was that she couldn't have that and look after our son, which is where my suggestion of just flipping the days around comes from. She could work a little extra to support herself. I also work from home, so although I get the concerns with having a stranger in the house, I would be home almost all of the time. To be clear, dress it up however you want. You want primary custody to avoid paying child maintenance, not because you care about what is best for your child. To make matters more complicated, my parents gave us a sizable amount of money to help us purchase our first house, £100,000. They told me this evening that they would want this back. No, they gave it you, it was a gift. This caused Anne to get very upset. Even though I've explained my parents' thought process behind this, she believes that they are doing all of this out of spite and anger. She's correct. They are. You are the asshole. You're really just trying to avoid paying child maintenance. Lol, I work for a divorce lawyer. I've seen spousal support for what I make a year awarded monthly. You can't just give your parents that money before the divorce is final, either. A judge, mediator is not going to let your wife just rent some hovel with your mom while you rich it up. He's going to equalize your assets. You are the asshole. Emma, be honest. Going through this thread, a lot of people are making assumptions. No assholes here, but your thinking is going to collide into the interests of your child. The courts will say that the child is entitled to relationships with both parents, and in many states, if not most, 50-50 custody is the default. Also, if your parents gave you both the $100,000, then the house is equally owned by you and Anne. You will have to buy her out of her half, and your parents can ask for the return of the gift. They have no legal recourse there to force the return. Am I the asshole for not inviting our vegan friend? Me, Tom, Sam, Bees, Saws and Eli known each other for years, and it's a tradition to spend the day at a B-Day person's house. Sam decided to go vegan. It's a decision she made to lose weight. We're supportive and help her search for alternatives and ensure she's not just eating bland vegs. 2 years later, we noticed her attitude change. We didn't notice it at first, but Tom pointed out that Sam reminded him of the vegan teacher from TikTok. It started on Tom's B-Day when Sam's in a bad mood. She would demand to see the food someone brought and frown whenever she opens the container. She'd do discreet gagging noises whenever someone takes a bite. She's silent the whole time we were in Tom's house. We asked her what's wrong, but she would say nothing. We just shrugged it off to catch up with each other. On Sam's B-Day, she told us not to bring any food and offered to cook. She dramatically improved her recipes, which are occasionally delicious. But that day, I made pastries and sold them in the neighborhood. I had to taste them before boxing them up, so I was half full when I arrived. We were right when we arrived that all the food was vegan. She would only bring vegan food to our meet-up. They were delicious and we almost finished all the food. I was just too full to eat more. At the end of the day, we piled into Eli's car. I was in a food coma when the rest talked about eating a meal before coming to Sam's house. The next gathering was Eli's B-Day, and we were shocked to find messages from Sam in our GC demanding we bring only vegan food. Eli is the steak man of the group. He built a smoker and planned to serve us brisket. That was the first time Sam didn't come to our gathering. I'm not confrontational, so I kept quiet, but the others were vocalizing that Sam doesn't have a right to tell Eli what he can and cannot eat on his own B-Day in-house. At Cass's B-Day, he bought vegan and beef dogs to cook as he's planning to grill, but Sam said that she won't be attending if we plan to eat meat. At the end of that day, she sent a MSG that if we plan to serve meat on my B-Day, don't bother inviting her. So, we discussed what to serve at my house in the GC on my B-Day. I especially mentioned that I'll prepare a vegan option for every non-vegan dish. Again, Sam was silent in the chat and didn't show up on my B-Day. We didn't bother inviting her on Bess's B-Day as B's wanted to do a Korean barbecue. When Sam saw our pics on FB, she was furious that no one contacted her and complained that we intentionally isolated her. We reminded her what she told us about not inviting her if we were eating meat and told her that we had adjusted for her on Cass's and my B-Day, but she didn't come. All mention of vegan food for our B-Day was still in the GC, and as it was all seen by her, we assumed that she purposely didn't go because not all the food is vegan. She called us asshole and left the group. Bees tried to call her, but she must have blocked our numbers because no one could reach her. So, are we the assholes? Not the asshole. She specifically told you not to invite her if you were going to be eating meat too at your party. Why would you assume that that would change for Bess's? The only person who has isolated Sam is Sam. Not the asshole. It sounds like you have all been happy to accommodate her dietary choices, but that she has not only been extremely rude about yours, and very controlling. She's chosen not to be part of the group, that's her prerogative. She's chosen to isolate herself rather than accept she can't dictate what you eat. Not the asshole. Do not ever tell me to not invite you for whatever reason, because that is exactly what will happen. You will not be invited. We had a good time. You could have been there, but you chose what you chose. Not sorry. Not the asshole. No real loss there. She sounds self-absorbed. Not the asshole. She did this to herself.